Here it is, the refined, on draft day, Smitty, top 20 wide receivers. Now let's put this out there as we start, Steve. I've talked to a number of teams. I know you've talked to a lot of evaluators and teams as well. You've watched a ton of film. There are not a lot of number ones in this draft. There are a few high volume number twos that are very important to the way offenses work. There's guys that can be versatile. There's guys that can play a variety of roles to make an offense function and go to another level and take a step. We're going to start at 20. We're going to work our way all the way up. So we're going to start at 20, Steve. Nick Nash.
They said he's the Triple Crown winner of college, had the most catches, receptions, high volume guy. The question is, can he have that type of volume? Will he have that type of volume in the National Football League? Kind of doubt it. Also, too, there's a little bit of question on the type of competition that he's played and whether people like it or not. People are looking at that and saying, if you can put up these astronomical numbers against a New Mexico State, however, against a USC or some of these other teams where there are some of these corners that will be drafted, and you weren't able to have the same type of workload, then teams are going, you are a product of lower division football.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's evaluated with everybody from a Nick Nash all the way up to an Ashton Genty, honestly, playing at Boise State. People are curious.
Yep.
Guys are bouncing off you. What type of guys are bouncing off you? And so that is evaluated with all guys throughout the entire draft. And then at 19, Elic Ayomanor from Stanford. I talked to a number of people and we didn't do a breakdown for him, but a number of people that liked his game, liked certain aspect of his game. One of the things that came up a couple of times, Steve, fearless over the middle. Like he will go and get some balls over the middle that are thrown into some difficult spots, make some circus catches. He's a good player. Teams think he's maybe a 3. We didn't do a breakdown, so I kind of wanted your 2 cents on him.
19, it was Tez Johnson at one point. I don't know if the lack of size had something to do with his inability to run a fast 40. His measurements were not up to standard that people would have liked. His 40 time wasn't. I think he took a step back. The quarterback play had a huge impact, I believe. So that's who was at one point at 19, no longer there. Elic, he's a tough one. My 2 cents is this. When you watch his film, there's 2 films you need to watch. All of his targets and the catches. Mm-hmm. So there's targets, and not all the targets mean he has caught the ball.
Yes.
But his tape tells 2 different stories.
Explain.
His tape, when you see the good plays, attacking the football, dynamic. Mm-hmm. But when he does not have a good play, it doesn't look good at all. Tape looks great, but his bad tape is human tape, the tape that kind of shows he's a human being, he's not AI. It's not good. It's not good at all. And so his tape tells 2 different stories. Now the question is, which one do you believe? And which one do you have patience for? If you're not an organization that has the time to allow a guy to develop, you're gonna pull his name out of the hat. You're gonna take him off your board because your organization, scouting department, and coaches, they don't have the time to wait for this kid to be ready in 2 years because those coaches may not be employed by that organization in 2 years.
Yeah. And if you can't check all those boxes in the process, do you usually pick those guys? That's part of it as well. When I talk to a couple of evaluators about them, they're like, I like him. I think I like him. You know what I mean? Like they didn't. A couple guys also said, I'm trying to do more work on him. I'm trying to do more work leading into the draft because I need some things answered. And you're exactly right. It's like sometimes he goes over, there's like a dark alley, he'll make a catch, and the next minute he's a completely different receiver. Like that's been on a couple of guys' minds, and they like him. They just want to get those questions answered, and that's probably why he's where he's at on Steve's list at 19. If we move up, 18, Steve, Tai Felton.
Ty's a good player from Maryland. I know he has been working on his game. One of the things that really stands out is with the football in his hands, he does a great job. He can do a lot of things, but there's just some question. Early in his career, has some little dropsies. And one of the biggest things you always hear, well, I hear, not everybody, but some will
That's
claim.
why we do this.
I've heard coaches sometimes or players say, they say, oh, man, look at my guy. And I say, hey, can he catch? And they say, oh, he's working on it. That's like being a fry cook and you burning the fries. You got to do the first thing. What? You got to keep the first thing first, right?
You got to get to the airport, Steve. Don't worry. I'll have my dad swing by. He's a taxi cab driver. Can he drive? Well, he knows where the airport is. Let me just tell you that. I jumped to 17 in Xavier Restrepo. We did a breakdown of him. I think this is a guy, like I just mentioned, fit matters, where he lands matters, what his role will be matters, and how that team maybe molds him into a little bit different receiver, because there's some things that teams like, and there's some things that they think are borderline deal breakers, but they'd like to change those and make him a guy that can play for them. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, X is a unique situation because when you look at his film, he doesn't run. Obviously, you look at his film, he looks pretty nifty. He's a guy that understands how to get open.
Big time.
My nitpicking, this is the process. This is what you get. This isn't hating. This is just constructive criticism of watching the tape. I think he does a little bit too much movement. Sometimes he tricks himself, which maybe gives the advantage to the corner. And obviously his lack of having a fast 40, a 4.73, 4.8. Some teams are gonna automatically withdraw his name from their list because every team has a preference on height, weight, and speed. And you can't have the height and the weight, but lack the speed and vice versa. So I think, I believe that there's going to be some teams that his time disqualifies him automatically.
16, Theo Wease.
I like Theo. I watched his film. I think he did a really good job at his pro day, given the opportunity to show some of the routes that he was not allowed to run routes in this offense. A lot of times in colleges, you'll see these players who, for various reasons, sometimes coaching staff, sometimes the actual individual, and then sometimes just the offense, doesn't always allow you to run every route on the route tree. So being able to see him run some different routes was actually encouraging to show. The only problem is he just didn't have a fast 40 time. He has the height, weight, but doesn't have the speed. So some people were already marking down, I would love to see his 40. Then he doesn't run a great 40. Now teams are saying, hey, he drops down lower on our draft board.
I love when you said at a pro day you get an opportunity to see him run some different routes. That is why this process is as long as it is. It's why teams deep dive on these players, because there are a variety of reasons why you don't run certain routes. It may even be, you mentioned it could be the player, could be the offense. You know who else it could be? It could be another player on your team. He can't do 3 different things. So you're forced to do. Remember, Steve, like this receiver can only do this. That's all part of your receiving group. So now you're forced that you have to only do these things, even though you could do much more because that other guy can only run a couple of things. Okay. Number 15, Pat Bryant.
Pat Bryant for Illinois. Really like him. Explosive, physical. He's at Illinois for whatever reason, but I thought his film stood out on me a lot. So I was really enjoying watching his film. He was another one of those guys. I watched his film the first time, went back for a third helping, and it really stood out to me, and I really like his game.
I like it. All right, we're getting into the little bit closer to 10, but we're going to go 14. Savion Williams. This is an interesting player. Versatility, I just put it by his name, but there's also a fear when you talk to teams of if you can do a million different things, Steve, can you do any of them well enough? Yeah. And that's always something that happens with these Swiss Army knife type of players, where you've seen him line up everywhere for TCU.
You have seen him line up everywhere for TCU, and then you also ask yourself, is it legitimate? Is he one of these guys that he's a system guy? Quick twitch. He's not a great route runner. For me, what stood out the most baby stepper, right? Kind of has those little choppy steps like he's sneaking up on you. Doesn't fight through press, doesn't use his hands violently, can't lose focus and gets in his own head. The Stanford game was a great example of it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a Cordell Patterson. That's what he kind of looks like to me.
I was going to say that. Man, I thought I felt smart.
And if the cornerback doesn't get hands on him, he's pretty good. He can make some circus catches, seems to have some good balance. But 70% of his catches are short, are in the short area catches. Route tree is about 3 routes, and he's a straight line guy. Why did you look like?
I had written down, I was going to ask you, Steve, this feels like Cordell Patterson. That's what I was going to ask you, and you already said it. So, I mean, yeah, like he was used in short yardage run plays. You know, he was used kind of all over the place. I think fit matters with that, right? What type of coaching staff do you have that's going to find ways to make you be maybe that advantage as opposed to being the disadvantage when there's certain things that you need to develop and work on? And can we find ways to get you on the field? I mean, 6'4", 222. I mean, he's a big guy. And you know, they were creative there. What type of systems he wind up in, what type of offensive coordinator in terms of creativity he's wind up in is going to be interesting. Tre Harris.
I'm lumping those two guys. I kind of put those two guys. They're very similar to me.
Both big.
I don't really know. I don't really believe he believes he's as good. Bro, I'm watching his film. He's running like 9 billion routes that are exactly the same. It's a go. It's a hitch. It's a stop. It's a go. It's a hitch. It's a stop. It's a stop. It's a hitch. It's a go. Same thing over and over again. And so that he falls into the category, is it the system or is it him?
Yeah.
Is it him or the system? So both of these guys, I believe they kind of mirror each other. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just stating we know these guys can play, but this isn't about if they can play, because once they get drafted, their opponents are looking at things to neutralize them and take them out of the game plan. Mm-hmm. And understanding what they need to work on heading into the season, and then what those teams have so much data information on. That's why this is such a critical moment for these guys.
It is. And the evaluation with certain players like this from certain offenses, you mentioned how he was used in the scheme, right? We know what they run at Ole Miss. We know they're going a mile a minute, right? They're playing snap after snap after snap. When you are a bigger receiver and your offense is moving that fast, and say some scouts are just watching some cut-up tape, and it's just play, and they're going, man, these plays look like dog shit. But you don't have no context in a cut-up like that this was play 9, 10, 11 of that drive, where you're a bigger-bodied receiver, and your offense is moving at a lightning speed, snap, 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 snap. Tre Harris is exhausted. Like, he's a different player when I talk to people first couple plays out of the drive to the end of a drive like that. It was interesting.
Especially if you're running the exact same play.
Yeah. Exactly.
Go.
It's a lot of running.
Stop.
That's a lot of stopping. And so I know this happened when Cortland Sutton was getting evaluated coming out of SMU because they were running a really up-tempo offense. Court's a big dude, right? A big guy. And then you get him into an offense in the NFL, pace is a little bit slower. Like, you're going to run, I mean, you're going to huddle. Like, these are just, I just want to throw that out there. That these are the little things during this process that teams are going, oh, I didn't, okay. Like, look at him from here. That would be different, So Tre was an example of that. This was a sleeper here by some people. Tory Horton. We did a breakdown of him and actually got a lot of steam on the site, honestly, Steve. He was a sleeper. Didn't play a whole lot, had a knee injury there. He missed most of the season. He was an integral part of the CSU Rams offense. He was really the focal point of that offense and then goes down early. Here's a snippet. Obviously, you can catch the entire episode on the channel, but here's a little look into Tory Horton.
It's Tory Horton. He is just outstanding with finding space.
Tory Horton playing for the CSU Rams. 6'2", a little over that, I think, 196.
He's 6'3".
6'3"?
Hey, just so you know, he's 6'3". I like him. I actually.
I appreciate Steve putting his height bias on on hiatus to break down Tory Horton. It didn't play a whole lot. He had a knee injury in October, which kind of wiped out the year, and CSU was devastated because this guy can really play. But coming back from the knee injury, he goes out there and runs a 4.41 at the combine.
That's impressive.
And there were teams I talked to today that were just like, I think he's faster than that. I don't think he was 100% for that run.
Nope.
And so this is a guy that really CSU relied on. I think he was a team captain, and they thought the world of the way he plays. And I think it's the way he's wired talking to people today, Steve, the way he went about his rehab, probably a big reason why he was able to run the 4.41 because of the way he attacked it throughout all of November, December, January, February, getting himself ready. What's your take on Horton, who I was told, quote, a really good middle round player, like a really good middle round player?
I liked Horton. I thought he was going to enter in the draft last year, and he stayed back. But I love the way he has fought through a lot of injuries. Mm-hmm. A little bit more slender build guy. The biggest issue that teams were really looking at is they knew his explosiveness prior to the knee injury. How was the knee injury going to impact his explosiveness? And running 4.41 off of a ACL tear, that's pretty darn good. He's in the slot right here. Going against Oregon State. Love just the way he high points the football.
Gets.
Yeah.
I like the way he runs the routes, Steve.
Yeah. Uses low tempo. He's on the corner, gets the corner to believe that he's going to go back outside. Good job. Love this route because he just shows his athleticism, understanding the knowledge of the play. Right here. Going to go here. Whip it back out. We call this a whip route.
Man. This route's become so popular, Steve.
Yeah, because you get the guy going. That's one hand right there too. It's a good job. He makes something out of nothing. It's pretty impressive.
All right, after 12 and Horton, Steve, we go to 11 and Isaiah Bond from Texas. There is a lot to sort out for teams before they actually turn their cards in because there's a lot going on with Bond off the field. But as a player right now on the field, what's your evaluation? 11 for you.
Yeah, he's had number 11. I think he has slipped down with some off the field stuff, and I also believe because of some of the evaluation, Golden has moved up, and I think Bond has moved down, and some other players have moved ahead of him based off their performance and some of their visits and their ability to keep their nose clean as well.
Yeah, has some absolute gas. Like, he can go on the football field. It is certain there. But I did have one team. I didn't say this in our breakdown of him. And again, you can watch that on the site. Small hands. I didn't want to do the Austin Powers thing, but some teams have said concerned about the small hands. Ball skills are not outstanding. They're good, but obviously he can really move. Doesn't have a full route tree, but he is explosive, and obviously teams like explosive players in terms of trying to put points on the board. Number 10, we're getting into the 10, and I'm not sure anybody else will have this guy this high.
Mm-hmm.
This episode of 89 is brought to you by BetterHelp. You know, in football, you have a support system, right? Whether it's your coaches, your trainers, or your teammates to help you kind of succeed. But what about you? What about off the field and making yourself the best version of yourself? Well, BetterHelp can help you do that. I know oftentimes we're playing hero ball, right? We're going at it all by ourselves. We got to do it alone. But when you talk to a therapist, you have an opportunity to alleviate that. And we're not just talking about major trauma. We're talking about coping with a variety of things, whether it's relationship issues, just overall stress, just creating the best environment for you to be the best version of yourself. And BetterHelp can help you do that. Now, the best thing about it is BetterHelp is 100% online, so it is both affordable and convenient. With over 5 million people participating worldwide, well, you know you're in good hands. So build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/89 and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/89. Number 10, and I'm not sure anybody else will have this guy this high. We got a chance to watch him firsthand, up close and personal. You kind of coached him a little bit during the showcase, I'm not going to lie. And it was kind of fun to watch the way he responded to that. And that's Jimmy Horn Jr. from CU. Talking to some teams, Steve, he's a little on the smaller side, but really well liked. Can he overcome the size thing, I guess, is my first question, because I think that's what a lot of teams have, because they do like him as a player.
I believe he can overcome the size thing depending on which team he goes to. If he goes to a team that already has a slot receiver and they're saying, hey, he has to learn because he's done a little bit of it, he has to learn how to play maybe X or Z outside, that's where the size can become problematic, where they start to try to fit a player into a position that maybe he's out of position. I like him in a slot with a good team who understands how to utilize him. He's smooth coming off the football, has some pretty good speed as well, has some dog in him. He's going to work hard, really wants to make a team. So I believe with the right team, in the right situation, I can see he's one of those, he's a guy like the Broncos could really benefit because Sean Payton does a heck of a job of having multiple types of players in different plays that he throws at the defense that really benefits no matter who your quarterback is. And we know Bo Nix is improving. He's got more comfortable back there. They're going to get a better offensive line. They're going to get more situated. They're going to get some of their guys, Mims and the Utah kid and Cortland Sutton and all those guys.
Evan Ingram in free agency.
Yeah, Ingram. And then they have Troy Franklin. He's getting a little bit more involved. So I'll be interested to see, really where Jimmy Horn goes.
Yeah, that'll be the interesting part. You mentioned it. People were going nuts in Denver since I live here of Sean was changing formations about every play, and everybody's wondering how much are you putting on Bo Nix's plate as you keep mixing up all these different personnel you're putting out there. But that's the way Sean Payton operates, and Bo Nix has been able to handle it. And with Jimmy Horn Jr., I'll say this. One of the things that teams have loved is, man, does he compete, Steve? He really competes. Did well at the Combine. Did everything at the Combine. Wanted to do everything at his pro day again. And ends up running a 4.4 flat. I think you called it, by the way, when we were standing there watching the 40s. But loves to compete. Going to give you everything. I think that's one of the traits that everybody kind of likes about him. We jump into the top 10 now, Steve. We are at number 9. Jaylin Noel from Iowa State. This is a guy who is a slot, in your opinion. You have slot next to him. But man, I just mentioned the Combine with Jimmy Horn Jr. Do you want to hear this Combine right here? 4.39. He had a 41.5-inch vert, best among the wide receivers. 11.2 broad, best among the wide receivers. Great top 5 in the 3-cone. Oh, by the way, just to boot, he had 23 on the bench, best out of all the wide receivers. Put together, really good. Tough. It's tough for me to dislike him. That's good.
He plays so well. I think whoever picks him, he'll be an upgrade immediately in the slot position. Nolan and Higgins are two different types of wide receivers, but they both have done a great job. I think Noel doesn't get as much credit as Higgins, but I think these two guys has really shown that Iowa State is starting to really produce some wide receivers, some quality wide receivers, not first rounders or any of that case. I'm just talking about some wide receivers that you go, wow, he can really play. And he ends up having a career that exceeds everyone's expectations.
Going back to Iowa State has been a regular thing since I started. I went there for David Montgomery's pro day. Way back when, and now he's got himself a decent career. I wanted to mention one thing because it comes out with him, Stephen. I want you to break this down for everybody. He has speed and he has quickness. They are two very different traits. And I think for everybody at home, I kind of am like, can you kind of show, like one guy can have one and one guy can have another. I think it's really nice when you have both, and he seems to kind of have both.
He has both, and he understands that he has both, so he can be deceptive. He can switch up the tempo, and sometimes he can kind of lull you to sleep because you think that he may be gliding, and all of a sudden he turns on the burners, and then he's by you. So that's the difference, and that's how you're able to have be deceptive like that.
Yeah, a lot of people think he might be the first receiver after those big four that are in a lot of people's minds, and I think all of those are still yet to come on our board. Number 8, Jack Bech, kind of a darling, let's be honest, of this draft process because of what's happened to him personally, losing his brother Tiger on New Year's Eve on Bourbon Street, who was a receiver at Princeton. Obviously makes the huge catch and touchdown in the Senior Bowl. This is a big dude. I mean,
yeah,
it's a big guy. And one thing I kept hearing was he is so certain of his hands.
When I look at Jack, I really see a Jimmy Graham, right? A guy who you can line up. Putting his hand on the ground is not really his specialty. Standing up as a wide receiver or a pass catcher. And so I look at him as more of a big body receiver, like a Mike Gesicki.
Okay.
Because Mike Gesicki ain't blocking a soul in the run game. He is a pass catching.
This isn't a great blocking wide receiver. I mean, even as big as he is, he's not outstanding.
Not even trying.
Yeah.
And so that's what I kind of see him as. Yes, he's a wide receiver, pass catcher. But I can see, because of his height, because of his size, I can see him kind of moving the tight end and putting him more to be a mismatch problem versus maybe having a run side by side, maybe with a corner who maybe is the same size as him.
I get what you're saying. You can see that on the field, right? And people say he's a rebounder. I feel like that term's used a lot with tight ends. Like that term's used a lot with the style that he plays with. All right, we'll go to 7 in Jalen Royals. We did a great breakdown of Jalen Royals, and I know it pained you, Steve, for a Utah State guy to get the attention that you gave him, but with your Utah Utes. But he really deserved it. He deserved the flowers we gave him because he's a player. He is number 7 on your board. Take a look at a little snippet, and you remember you can watch all of these breakdowns on the channel. But here's a little Jalen Royals.
A one-handed grab for Jalen Royals.
We are talking about, I don't know, a player from a school that Steve doesn't usually like to talk about. That's Utah State. Because Steve's a Utah guy. So the Aggies there, Utah State. Listen, we don't hear many players getting their names called out of Utah State, if that makes you feel any better, Steve. But that's going to change with Jalen Royals. He is going to be drafted. Some people, Steve, we'll see what happens between now and the draft. Think, could he sneak into the first round? Most people I've talked to think he's a day 2 pick. Let's get into Royals here, Steve, because this is a guy that also basketball in high school, track in high school, was a state high jumper.
Not in Utah, in Georgia. So I'm letting you know, he wasn't the brother in Utah, so he was dominating. No, he was out in Powder Springs, Georgia. Just so everybody knows, prior school is Georgia Military College back in 2021.
I want to point this out. He only played 7 games this past season. Had an ankle injury, missed the rest of the season, which is why in the people I'm talking to, they're very interested in seeing him, Steve, right? They want to see, him work out. They want to see him visit because he's still I was told at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine, 80 to 90%. And he runs a 4.42, and he's not 100% yet. So teams are curious about where the speed is, when it's coming back, all those things. But I think that's pretty impressive, honestly, if he's not back to 100% yet. And he had a good Senior Bowl week in a lot of people's minds.
I love his body control. I love just what and how he comes to work every single day. Now, some people may question who he's playing against, but nameless, faceless. Going against Robert Morris, so you can get your Newports and you can get some routes put on you as well. So they already know he's the guy. Motion inside, getting a chip to slow him down. Linebacker doesn't have an opportunity. Safety's over the top. I don't know what y'all looking at safety. Look, just T's and P's, baby. Thoughts and prayers, because you can't cover them. I would say quarterback plays. Come on, man, throw the ball. Just really good player. Now going against SC. I'll make the noise so you can hear it. He's trying to get somewhere. He goes, skip. Look at that.
Yeah.
Not an easy takedown. Watch this linebacker. Look at linebacker. Reading eyes of the quarterback. Quarterback telegraphing. Goes. Bow. Good job.
I like the sneaky jab in there. Quarterback telegraph.
Hey, wow. Quarterback was telegraphed on the pass. Against Boise State, sets up the DB excellent. This DB ain't got a chance. The Smurf turf. What I love about this play, he's running the route, but what he does, shakes the corner and gets going. And that stalls the corner. These guys are communicating. They get in a condensed formation, and they do a really good job. Right? So they say, hey, eyes. You. So he comes up, and he foolishly is saying, that's my guy. Boy, you ain't ready for this, dog. Watch this. Choo-choo. Boom. Look at the corner. The corner, this is when you know you got the corner. When the corner is looking back going, I hope he is not throwing it to him. Watch. He does it right after this. Watch where his eyes go. Look. Ooh, he looks up. Please don't throw it. Yep.
That step he gave him, Steve, before the contact, that threw him off, didn't it?
And the hand movement as well. Did a really good job. He's still abusing these guys.
I was really curious, Steve, how your list was going to come out after you shocked me when you said Kyle Williams from Washington State reminds you of Agent 89.
Moi.
Reminds you of moi. Reminds you of yourself. So I was like thinking to myself, when he texts me this handwritten list right here, where is Kyle Williams going to be? And you have him at number 6.
I love this kid.
You're not alone.
You look at his 40 time, but when you watch his film, they don't align. The way he attacks the football, the way he's utilized. He was not a great route runner at UNLV. However, he's worked on his game. And I always love going backwards.
Okay.
Which is why some of these people have fallen, is what did a kid do the year before he was coming out? And then what did he do the year he is coming out? So trying to see that development of what habits did he have the year before, what things did he do well, and then what did and did not carry over. And with Kyle Williams, the carryover was fantastic. And the new things that he did was even better. And so he got better and better with not attacking the football, already did it. He got better at running routes and then it being explosive like he already was at UNLV as well.
I love it. Yeah, I'll just say this about him as I called around. He has taken a lot of 30 visits. That means a lot of teams are. I am intrigued with when you have a player like him, played at Washington State, grew the way he grew, like you said, into his 5th year, and you're seeing the progress. They want to see it firsthand. They saw the explosiveness. This is a guy probably like a 4th rounder, some people say. We'll see where he ends up going. But I know talking to a couple people, they said whoever gets him is going to be a really, really
they should be happy
program because they're getting Agent 89. I mean, you know, on and on. We'll see if it's on and off the field, Agent 89. He said he's kind of like you in a lot of ways. So we'll see how it goes. Here's number 5. This one was worthy of 2 videos. There was a video about Tetairoa McMillan's play. There was a video about
his play has changed.
And he is going.
Boy, we can go. I'll go into it. I saw some comments and said, some people said no one. Actually, some individuals at the university said he was a West Coast guy. And I said he's not a West Coast guy. He's actually from Hawaii. The word I used was an island boy, if that was taken as disrespect. No disrespect. He's from Hawaii. He operates differently. He kind of has that smooth, but can he play football? Absolutely, he can play football. I just don't think that he is the currently, right at this moment, the best wide receiver on the board. And other teams are there because he slides. His stock is really sliding a little bit, and it's unfortunate. And it's not because I had anything to say. It has to do with the visits, what he's done, and how he is going about his business.
Yeah, it has been an interesting process for him. As somebody that is, I believe, number one on your board, has benefited from this process. I think Tet McMillan has gone kind of a little bit the opposite during the process. Doesn't mean that's consensus. Doesn't mean that's unanimous. I talked to one team that said they're the only, Steve, these grades happen either with number systems, color systems. One team said he's the only red grade we have at wide receiver. He might be the only one we think is a 1, excluding the unicorn. But he's kind of in that boat for one team. We'll see if that's the case. But there's been plenty of talk about other things that have come out in this process. I think in our breakdown, and again, you can watch that on the site, we kind of broke down a little bit, Steve, of how he at times gets pushed off the ball even before that he can make a contested catch. That happens at times. There's a little bit difference in him when he's going to get the ball and he's not going to get the ball on a given play. I did get some intel since we taped that from people at the University of Arizona, where it was essentially...
Was it Bobby Wade?
It was not Bobby Wade. Oh, okay. Where it was essentially, these weren't things that they didn't notice, and they worked very hard to try to instill them in him, and they didn't. And so I'm not sure where that falls on the inability to coach him to do it, or his willingness to do it. I think that's what teams are trying to find out. But they knew about it. They knew these things that we talked about in our breakdown. They wanted him to change some of these things and improve in some of these things, and he didn't. So whoever that falls on.
Sounds like the coach to me.
We'll see. I don't know. Well, it might be him. I mean, yeah.
I'm blaming the coach.
I know you're going to blame the coach. Let's go to number 4. I feel bad. I'm not gonna, after we taped the Luther Burden breakdown, and there's a lot to dissect with Luther, I went out of it going, I hope we didn't focus too much on the things Luther needs to correct and didn't talk enough about the things that Luther does really well. And that's why I'm happy that you have him at 4, because there are some things he does very, very well in football.
Yeah, he does. He puts his foot in the ground. He's explosive. When he has the football in his hands, he goes. They have gave him every opportunity to play well. He has played well, but there are some things in the interview process that teams are looking at that I've heard that it's just hard to overlook.
Yep, very true, very true. There's a lot that goes into drafting a player. It's not just, wow, look at the ball in his hands and he goes. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes into the process. Let's move on to number 3. You really like this guy, and you've liked him for a long time, and that's Jayden Higgins, also from Iowa State. This is a guy that it was described to me a high volume number 2, which is it's a great role to be in as a wide receiver in the next level.
They move him all over the field. Explosive. Now his estimated or his 40 time before he ran it was 4.5. It really reminds me of Mike Evans. He understands his lack of clock speed, but you can put him anywhere. And I don't really believe putting him in the slot would actually make him grow. I think putting him outside and allowing him to get more familiar with being big-bodied, with having to rely on his physicality, can advance his play significantly and sooner.
There are some people that are head over heels, I'll just say, in Jayden Higgins around this league. And I even had from one of them, I might have mentioned this in the breakdown we did, there's some people that think somebody might sneak up into the first round to get him just because they want him that bad. And then you want him for the 5 years.
They're not sneaking up. I mean, them things.
Well, they may not tell anybody. All of a sudden, they make a trade and they're in.
I'm talking about George Jefferson moving on up. They are.
I'd like to see like somebody do one of those things on the internet where they just put Jaylen Higgins' head on Jordan Jefferson. He just comes flying through the front door like he's coming into the first round. Yeah. Watch that show too. All right, number 2, Emeka Egbuka from The Ohio State University, national champions. No big deal.
Oh, really? Is he from Ohio State University?
Yeah, he's from The Ohio State University. Wide receiver U, we could call ourselves. I say we because I donate to the Alumni Association. National champions. He is, in your mind, Steve, strictly a slot, I believe you said. But man, can he thrive there. And we saw a slot come out. And some people say he's a better athlete, moves a little bit better. And I remember you and I watching this guy in Jackson Smith and Jigba at his pro day together when we were at Ohio State. And he has had a lot of success out of the slot with Seattle. Some people say this could be even better with Emeka Egbuka. And JSN went 20 overall. by the way, in history.
Yeah, I think this is a good pick. He brings to the table some of the things that you don't really expect from a young guy, the intangibles. He is a guy who can play outside, but he does a lot of his dirty work, and his physicality and his selflessness will show immediately. So playing him in the slot, you really gain the benefit of having a guy like him playing so early that he would just get better and better as the season progresses.
Yeah, and he's a guy that I believe our top two for you, our number one and Emeka Egbuka, polished. Like can come in and will enter your wide receiver room and make it better immediately. Both kind of considered glue guys, Emeka specifically. And you mentioned doing different things for your offense. He did a lot of different things in 2023. Maybe some of the things he wanted to do in 2024, but Jeremiah Smith arrives and he plays a little bit different role. And you see him thrive in it again. And we've watched that breakdown. It's great about the importance that everybody on that team understood for Emeka Egbuka and helping them win that national championship. So that ties me to our number one. Now here's the interesting part, Steve. Between 2 and 1, you have an empty space.
Yes.
You have 20 through 2, empty space, number 1, Matthew Golden. Why the space?
Because it's just that big of a gap between Matthew Golden and Emeka Egbuka, with Egbuka being a slot guy, dominant in the slot, selfless, valuable. Matthew Golden is the playmaker. He's the go-to guy. He is the number 1 wide receiver on my board, and I don't think it's a question.
Yeah, I was told not super twitchy, but can run everything you ask him to run.
Yep.
Has legit bleeping ball skills, I was told.
Yep.
Really smooth operator in that sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What does that mean? Because I know these are terms. This is draft time. I wanted to get into this. Like twitchy, we're looking for that. Travis Hunter, full display at the showcase when we watched it. And then there's smooth. You can be really impactful without being ultra twitchy if you have a lot of the smooth, right? What's the difference there?
Well, the difference is if we talk about Restrepo, he does so much movement at the line where it alters and it almost looks like he's trying to sell you something. With Matthew Golden, he's not trying to sell you anything. He's letting you know he's going. And that's the difference.
Yeah.
And that's the smooth and twitchy. Like he's twitchy, but he's smooth. So it's like he can get on the heels, he can create free access, but when he goes, he goes.
Yeah.
And you figure out he's gone after he passes you up.
Yeah. I this is one of the guys that honestly has climbed the most at maybe any position really in this draft process since the end of the season. We know the way, and we in our Matthew Golden breakdown how things kind of went at Texas and how targets changed and how his season went on. But then as this process has gone on, people have realized that he's the glue guy in a room. He can run this complete route tree. He has great ball skills. He's super smooth, can kind of do everything. Kind of comes a little, I don't want to say comes easy to him, but it has that feel, right? It's an easygoing way about it.
One of the things that I did hear too is they said his passion for the game stands out immediately.
Ooh.
You don't have to worry about, is he playing football to get something? You know, his desire to play football is there, his high IQ, he's self-motivated. And some of these guys on this list, yes, they are the exact same way. So Steve, why didn't you mention them? Because as you get higher up on the ranking, those small things that you assume sometimes are the reason why some guys drop, and then it's why some other guys leapfrog. And Matthew Golden is one of those guys who his interviews have confirmed exactly what all the coaching staff, the tutors, the cafeteria people, the weight room guy, when the area scouts go to these schools.
Oh, they're talking
there
about
are
shagging
times.
Balls. Yep.
But there are times. I've been in places where someone has said a statement and the area scout has texted a player that's getting drafted, his roommate to say, hey, is Ricky really blah, 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 blah? Mm-hmm. No, that was last year's guy. Nope. Like, wow. Mm-hmm. So they got snitches all over the place.
Big time.
And they're looking to find out.
Yeah. Nobody went to Bo Callahan's birthday party. Played a big hand in Sonny Weaver not drafting him in draft day. Listen. and Steve, to me, that stands out so much in why he should be number one on your board and why he's climbed, because you look at the traits we mentioned. Then you look at when these teams have a chance to visit with him and they can see how coachable he is and how he is in the room. I combine that with when everybody's watching this film, they're going, he can move, but he doesn't move like 4.29, which is what he ran at the combine. And so they're going, maybe with some coaching and some nuances in his route running, he has some less wasted steps. We get closer to that 4.29 when he gets to the league and gets a little more coaching. And oh, ding, 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 he is coachable. He is passionate about this. We can tap in that there still might even be a ceiling above what he's doing that makes him even more appealing to these coaches. I think that's a combination of the strengths that he has and what teams see in him that puts him at number one. So Steve, that's the list. That's Matthew Golden. That's he's the guy at the top of the list here. If we could, wait, I didn't look at the top of this list, Steve. We have a couple extra spaces, and we have somebody all the way at the top of your list. There's no number.
He doesn't need a number. He's a bleeping unicorn, bro. Travis Hunter. Everybody's been asking, what's my opinion? What do you think? Where do you put him? He's at the top of the class, man. He's the guy.
He's the guy. And you know what I like? Andrew Berry, where a lot of people believe tonight he is going to be drafted number 2 overall by the Cleveland Browns, says that they see him as a wide receiver first and a cornerback second. We did a really in-depth look at Travis Hunter as a wide receiver specifically, Steve. We watched him firsthand at that showcase, and I think you saw there are traits that nobody else in this draft has. There are traits that don't come along very often in terms of use twitchy all the time, but the way he can move in terms of quickness. And then you just, while we were watching, going, there are little things, because he obviously mentally is doing so much with 2 positions on each side of the ball. If he just focused on receiver, not asking him to do it, I know he wants to play both ways, but there are little things where you're like, and it will just keep getting better.
Yeah. He hasn't had an opportunity to really hone in either one of the skills full time,
which makes it even more impressive.
But I have talked to some teams, and they're like, look, we see Travis Hunter as a guy that can he score points for us. And that's just one team. That's one of the teams they said we look at him to score points. Not to say he can't play corner, but that's the version they saw of Travis Hunter. That's the first immediate thought that came into mind. And I was like, okay, so that was a really totally different perspective that I was not prepared to hear from a team in that position.
Now, I do remember talking to a position coach that was at the showcase that said his wide receiver coach will be extremely important with where he lands.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And I want you to dive into that real quick, just kind of what your take is on that, because to me, it's you might have limited time with him. And so what can you accomplish in limited time? And 2, it's there is an unbelievable amount of talent. You better be able to kind of mold this talent.
Well, it has to do with the wide receiver coach. Is he a coach that's just coaching up install, making sure that the kid knows where to line up and, hey, here you go? Or is it a guy that says, hey, these are the routes we are running. However, we're going to attack the technique this way, but if he comes and does this. And so you have to really figure out what type of coach do you have. Do you have a developmental coach, or do you have a system implementing coach who just makes sure that he could check the box off? Well, coach, I told him he got a post. Right?
Give me the nuances, man. Give me the stats.
It does happen though, and it's sad to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see the career of Travis Hunter. We'll see how it goes. Trying to do something we've never seen before. So this is Smitty's top 20 right here on draft day. You know, Steve, there are certain draft rooms where everybody goes out and plays a round of golf Thursday morning.
Really?
Everything, Hayes in the barn. Oh, yeah, there's certain teams that do this. Then they go out, they do something. Everything is done, board is set. No, Steve Smith, still watching film up until the 11th hour.
Yeah.
And you were just kind of watching a little film, scrolling through the iPad, and we have now an honorable mention in Smitty's top 20. Who is this?
Yeah, Kanata Mumfield from Pittsburgh. Really like the kid. Watching his tape, I saw some good things. He's twitchy, explosive, attacks the football, throws his hand up like he moss all the time, but he does get open. The offense, he's in one of those offenses where everybody looks to the sideline, they get it. And so just constantly moving, making himself available to the quarterback. It does a really good job attacking football. Sometimes, kind of relies on body catching a little bit, but I was really impressed with how he was able to run some routes against the type of opponents that he was running some routes. So I can see this is the type of guy last minute, under the radar, that you can get him in the camp and when he will surprise you. And he has a lot of things that you can work with that you can mold.
You like watching film too much. Just
sometimes.
Love it.